Buzz Lightyear is the newest brawler coming to Brawl Stars, and he is the first ever temporary brawler we've ever had. Now, since he's from the Toy Story collab, and since he's here for just a short time, he doesn't have a rarity. He also doesn't even belong to a trio. But not having a rarity also means that everyone is getting him for free, and he will be completely maxed out when you unlock him.
Greetings, I'm Buzz Lightyear. Roger that. Yes!
Now, Buzz Lightyear is 3 brawlers in 1. He has 3 different modes that you can choose from before the match, and each has a different main attack and super. His first mode is laser mode. For his main attack, he fires a laser from his wrist that deals heavy damage to a target that it hits, and then sets them on fire for a few seconds. Now, the burn will damage enemies for very little for every tick, but it lasts for 4 whole seconds, very similar to Crow's main attack. The attack has good range, but it's also very narrow and hard to hit, so this is the closest mode to a sharpshooter that Buzz has. Now, for his super in laser mode, he fires 5 lasers that are fired in a fan shape, very similar to how the boss shoots its lasers like in Boss Fight, right? If you remember Boss Fight. And each of those lasers deal quite a bit less on impact than a regular attack, but they also set the targets on fire. Both the main attack and the super in laser mode are pretty similar and honestly pretty straightforward as well. Buzz Lightyear's second mode is Saber mode. The main attack in this mode is a melee attack with his Saber that's basically identical to BB's main attack, except it does not knock enemies back. The damage is instantly dealt to everything inside the range, and it has a slight delay before the attack deals the damage. The super in this mode is more similar to like El Primo's super. Buzz Lightyear blasts off into the air, hovers for just a moment, and then quickly dives to the ground wherever the super was aimed. The impact deals damage to enemies and also knocks them back. He can also use the attack to fly over walls and water, so he'll really land wherever you aim him. Buzz Lightyear's last mode is Wing mode. This mode's main attack fires projectiles one after another, very similar to Cordelius's main attack. However, each of these projectiles will deal more damage the closer Buzz Lightyear is to the target, like Leon's main attack. Now, for his super, Buzz Lightyear jumps and glides a short distance over the ground. While he's in the air, he drops 6 little bombs one after another, directly below himself in the path that he's gliding in. Now, even if the super can't travel the full distance, he will still drop the same amount of bombs and be in the air for the same amount of time, so it could deal massive damage to an enemy close to a wall. Now, Buzz Lightyear only has one gadget called Turbo Booster, so no matter which mode you select, the gadget's always going to be the same. This gadget simply dashes Buzz Lightyear forward a short distance, similar to Shelly's fast forward gadget. It doesn't stun, it doesn't knock enemies back, it doesn't deal any damage to opponents, but the dash itself is further than most other dashes in the game. So this will be useful when paired with his other abilities, and may change actually how you use it depending on which mode you're playing Buzz Lightyear in. Interestingly enough, Buzz Lightyear does not have a star power, and he also cannot be equipped with gears, but he does have a hypercharge called Bravado. Unfortunately, his hypercharge doesn't actually have any special effects or impact his supers at all, but it does increase his stats for the duration of the hypercharge. He gets 26% extra movement speed, 25% extra damage, and 5% damage reduction. This is still pretty good. It just doesn't add anything special to the supers, very, like other hypercharges do, but it will make him stronger, and you can use it whenever you'd like. Now, Buzz Lightyear's only going to be in the game temporarily, but we still have to see how he's going to compare to all the other brawlers in the game. As always, we'll start with his worst and move up to his best test. First up, we have the boss test. Buzz Lightyear uses his wing mode in this test because it deals the most damage per ammo, and his super can recharge itself. He uses his super over and over while firing his main attack whenever he's able to reload an ammo, since one ammo still almost deals the same amount of damage as his whole super. Buzz Lightyear defeats the boss in 45.9 seconds. That puts him in 60th place, and that's out of 87 brawlers. Not bad for his worst test. Next is the area test. Now, Buzz Lightyear's laser mode covers the most area, largely due to his super. His main attack only breaks 18 skulls, but his super breaks 35 skulls. With no help from his gadget, that makes a total of 53 skulls and puts him in 50th place. Okay, I know that we've only shown 2 tests, but guess what? For the rest of these tests, he's better than half of the brawlers in the game. Buzz Lightyear is busted. Next, we have the survival test. Buzz Lightyear has nothing that prevents damage or gives him a shield of any kind, but while in his Saber mode, he has 9,000 health, which is a lot more than the 6,800 health health in his wing mode and 6,000 health in his laser mode. Buzz Lightyear ties with Chuck for 41st place in this test. Next is the attack range test. Laser mode also has the furthest range out of all of the modes, but only when it comes to their main attacks. One laser beam travels 8 2/3 tiles, so Buzz Lightyear ties with 7 other brawlers for 39th place. Next is the reload test. Now the reload speeds are actually very close between the 3 different modes, but you can just look at the Buzz Lightyear's description and see that laser mode actually has the fastest. He's able to unload 10 laser beams in 17.3 seconds, which puts him in 31st place. Next is the super range toast. The mode with the longest super is Buzz Lightyear's Saber mode. Even though this is his close range melee mode, he can travel super far with his super, even further than his wing mode, right? He's able to fly across 10 1/3 tiles, which is enough to tie him with Poco and Terra for 31st place. Next is the auto aim test. Buzz Lightyear's laser mode can be auto aimed from 5 tiles away, which is further than any other mode, but it only hits sometimes. I couldn't figure out why sometimes it hit and sometimes it didn't, but whatever. It could be the angle that the brawler is at, maybe. I don't know. The important thing is that it is possible for you to hit an enemy 5 tiles away while auto-aiming, and that deals 2,960 damage, so he gets 27th place. Next, we have the assassin test. In Buzz Lightyear's wing mode, he quickly unloads 3 ammo and then barely has enough time to land all of the bombs from his super before his 3 seconds are up. In total, he deals 16,200 damage and gets 25th place. Now next we have the box test. Due to some technical difficulties that I had, we kind of had to estimate this because we couldn't actually use the map maker because of a weird glitch that was going on with the developer build. Hopefully that doesn't make its way into the main game. Anyway, we had to estimate this, and assuming that he's in Saber mode and he's able to pick up all of the power cubes, it would take him 20 basic attacks to break open all the boxes. I measured how long it would take for him to unload 20 attacks in a training cave. It takes him 32.7 seconds, which roughly puts him in 22nd place. Next, we have the 1-second DPS test. Buzz Lightyear is able to unload all of his ammo in wing mode within 1 second. Since each ammo deals 4,000 damage at point blank, that's 12,000 damage. Oh man, that's so much, and he gets 21st place for this test. Next, we have the super damage test, and in Buzz Lightyear's laser mode, his super fires 5 individual laser beams that each deal 1,000 damage. The extra burn damage lasts for 4 seconds, and each deals 160 damage, and that totals up to 5,640 damage with just his super. That's a lot of damage. That puts him in 20th place. Next, we have the 3-attack kill test. As we saw in the 1-second DPS test, Buzz Lightyear's 3 attacks in his wing mode are the strongest out of all of his modes, as long as he is really close to the enemy. He can deal 12,000 damage with only 3 ammo. That is enough to take out every single brawler in the game, except for Frank, and after this update, El Primo, because he's getting a damage buff. That's also enough for him to tie with Bull for 17th place. Next is the supercharge test. Buzz Lightyear's Saber mode can charge his super with the first 3 ammo, but his wing mode can charge it up in only 2 ammo. Once again, the attacks have to be very close range, but 2 projectiles at max power will charge half his super. He's able to fully charge his super in 0.6 seconds and ties with Clancy and Griff for the 8th fastest charging super in the game. Next is the swarm test. It took a few tries, but with only 3 swipes in Buzz Lightyear's Saber mode, he can take out the entire swarm. The other modes don't even come close because his Saber is only one of his attacks that can go through multiple targets. He defeats the swarm in 2 seconds and gets 6th place. Next is the splash test, and due to technical difficulties, I had to calculate the splash test similarly to how I calculated the box test. Fortunately, Buzz Lightyear can hit all 16 boxes with 1 attack in Saber mode, so I just had to measure how long it takes for him to unload 4 attacks. He completes the splash test in 2.8 seconds and gets 4th place. Next is the race test. Buzz Lightyear has a very fast movement speed in both his Saber mode and his wing mode. However, his super in Saber mode travels further and faster than in his wing mode, so he goes with Saber. Before using his super, he uses a gadget to dash forward a little bit so that he can use another gadget right before the finish line. Buzz Lightyear completes the race test in 6.7 seconds and ties with Carl and Melody for 4th place. So, is Buzz Lightyear even good enough to play with when he's available for free, or is he gonna totally break the game? Well, Let's talk about it. First of all, we have Gem Grab, and I think the map is going to determine which his best game mode or which attack mode he's going to be using for Gem Grab, but I really don't think you can go wrong with whatever mode you use. Buzz Lightyear's laser mode probably has the best area control and range, but his wing mode and his saber modes both have supers with good mobility. You're gonna be able to swap between them depending on what the map is, but either way, I'd probably use his laser mode to carry gems and his wing mode and saber modes to play more aggressively and try to steal the enemy gems. Overall, I'm gonna give him A tier for Gem Grab. Next, we have Brawl Ball. Buzz Lightyear's saber mode is probably gonna be the best for Brawl Ball, mostly because he has the most health and also has the really high DPS. His super can also make him very good for scoring goals and even saving goals, since it does knock enemy brawlers back. His wing mode would also be good for mostly the same reasons, and I probably wouldn't use his laser mode for Brawl Ball. He definitely deserves A tier for Brawl Ball as well. Next, we have Heist. We're gonna go with the C tier, okay? It's probably gonna be Buzz Lightyear's worst game mode, maybe even B tier, just because he's a really strong brawler, but it's gonna be his worst game mode because both his laser mode and his wing modes have projectiles that cannot pierce through targets, so I don't think he'll be able to deal with brawlers and deal very much damage to his safe. But then you have his saber mode, which could be decent, especially since his super will basically guarantee he gets to the safe, but I still think he's gonna struggle like a little bit too much to even charge his super on a lot of the heist maps, maybe at least competitively. I think for most everybody else though, yeah, he'll be playable for sure. For Bounty, we're gonna go with B tier, leaning on A tier. Buzz Lightyear's laser mode will probably be the best for most bounty maps just because it has the best range. However, his laser mode doesn't have great abilities for escaping sketchy situations, and his other modes do, so you could go with either way. Even if his laser mode is the best, it still probably doesn't have enough range to make him a top tier brawler for bounty, so we'll put him into B tier for right now. Next is Hot Zone, 100% S tier. Whether the Hot Zone map is really open or has lots of walls, Buzz Lightyear is going to be able to control the zones really well. If he has walls, then his saber mode and wing mode is going to do really good against other close range brawlers, and those supers will allow him to easily get into the zones if he loses control or even escape if he needs to. On open maps, his laser mode is going to keep enemies burning, which does a really excellent job at keeping them out of the zone, and his super is going to allow him to easily push anybody that's inside the zone outside of it. So I think the S tier makes sense for him. For Knockout, we're going to go with a B tier. Very similar to Bounty. I just don't think that Buzz Lightyear has the range that he needs in this game mode to be considered a top tier brawler for Knockout. But if he can somehow charge his super in Saber mode, that's honestly a really good easy kill, but that's going to be really tough for him to do against good players. His best bet is probably laser mode, which is still fine, at least competitively, but he's still going to be outranged by the best Knockout brawlers. As for Solo Showdown, I'm going to go with the S tier. Okay, any of Buzz Lightyear's modes should do just fine for a solo showdown. They can all break boxes pretty easily, so he's a strong close range brawler, and he's a good decent long range brawler as well. The two of his supers can also help get him out of a pinch if he needs to. Even if an enemy does sneak up on him in laser mode, I still think he's going to outburst most brawlers as long as he has a super charge, because his super can just deal insane amounts of damage if anybody is close. I think the S tier makes a lot of sense. And as for Duo Showdown, I'm going to go with S tier as well for all of the same reasons. You'll have a teammate with you, and honestly, at the very start, when everybody has Buzz Lightyear unlocked, it's probably going to be just all a bunch of buzzes just killing each other, right? None of his game modes particularly stick out for me when it comes to Duo Showdown. Will you be able to play two Buzz Lightyears on a team, like if you go with a friend and they're different modes? Probably not. I mean, he is three brawlers in one, but anyway, maybe it'll kind of depend a little bit on whatever your teammate is going to be playing. I think he's a really good brawler for Showdown, so I'm going to go with S tier for Duo Showdown as well, though. Buzz Lightyear being three brawlers in one makes him one of the most unique brawlers we've ever seen. I mean, does he even need a star power? Should he be in the game permanently? I'm very curious to know what you guys think in the comment section below. I normally at this point would show you guys all of the brawler's voice lines and pins. He only has 3 pins, and you'll have to unlock those pins in his mastery track. And as for voice lines, I'm a little bit worried about the Disney Pixar overlords copy striking this video, so I'm just not going to post his voice lines, but he sounds exactly like Buzz Lightyear from the movies, so you could probably figure it out. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you guys subscribe for future sneak peeks. We still have Meeple and what's it? Ollie. We have Meeple and Ollie. I remember the new brawlers, and you are not going to want to miss their Olympics as well, because guess what? They're actually going to be permanent in the game. We'll see you guys in the next video.